David Brewster here with a new episode of Scales and Tales, and this is the Modal Modulation Workout. And this workout or exercise routine I've actually had for a long time. This is kind of one of my private or personal, workouts. And I have shared this with students over the years. But basically in music, a modulation is when you shift from one key or tonal center to another. And that could be pretty basic, like shifting from C major to C minor, or just kind of shifting and mutating tonalities and keys of music. And this is very common, and it's loosely related to substitutions, modal interchanges, Satriani's famous pitch axis theory, which he didn't really invent pitch axis, but he definitely helped popularize it. And really what we're talking about here is just establishing a certain key or tonal center and then moving or shifting or mutating away from it. So here's an image with the definition of modulation. This came from the Berklee College of Music. To get started here, we're going to basically begin in F Aeolian, or the natural minor scale. And I'm going to put that right here, and that's going to look and sound like this. Right? F Aeolian. Modulate or shift that to E Lydian, which is right next door, right here. So you can probably hear that distinct, shift or modulation right there. And this is extremely popular. You hear this in jazz and progressive rock and cinematic music, soundtracks and stuff, and you'll hear that kind of twist or shift in the chords or tonality. Just like that. But here's an image kind of breaking that down, showing you and comparing, F Aeolian to E Lydian. So to help you get down in the trenches and really understand what's going on here, we're basically shifting from F minor to E major, right next door, right there, side by side. If we looked at chords, that's kind of what's happening, basically. And we could flip that to arpeggios, of course. There's F minor and then E major. And that really helps you kind of see what's going on there. There's F minor, E major. And those little twists, the mutual notes and shared notes between those two keys and tonalities. But then, with chords or arpeggios, you really don't have the full spectrum or sound because you're missing some notes. Because we definitely are hitting, Aeolian all the way. And then Lydian. And you can really see it, side by side like that. That's really interesting to really kind of get in there and start messing and mixing and shifting some of those tonalities and different sounds. Now, once you get away from the full scale, and you can definitely run that as an exercise, just drift back and forth between the two. But to actually start moving us into the modal modulation workout here, let's convert those full 7-note scales into more finger-friendly and fretboard-friendly pentatonic or 5-note shapes. So instead of this, let's just convert, F Aeolian to F minor pentatonic right here. Right in the box. Do the same thing with Aeolian, or I'm sorry, with Lydian. So instead of this, we have this very unusual different fingering right here. 2 notes per string, so implied F Aeolian, which is really just the pentatonic scale, and then implied E Lydian. And I guess you could call that Lydian pentatonic, but don't really call that. You can think that in your mind, because it's 2 notes per string, a 5-note scale. But just think of that as Lydian but it's, kind of, missing some notes, or some notes are removed. So at this point, before I share the full exercise, it's really important to hear that modulation, or that shift from F Aeolian to E Lydian. And you could do that from running the scale like we've been talking about. Obviously, like I mentioned, you could relate that to chords and kind of hear that shift. You could relate it to arpeggios. You could even relate it to those string skipping shapes, like, Paul Gilbert's made famous, like this. And there's F minor and E major right next door. But you can definitely hear that shift right there. And then before I share this full, the big exercise, just spend a little bit of time kind of working through that. The chords, arpeggio, string skipping shapes, the full scale, the kind of pentatonic mutation. And that pentatonic mutation, one more time, is like this. Shift right back to F again. Now it's really important to have that under your belt. So one more time right there. Just go slow. It's really important. We're not shredding this. This is a workout or exercise. And trust me, this is a marathon exercise once I share the full idea. So you don't want to start that too fast, because you'll run out of gas and hurt yourself possibly before we even make it to the end. So that's the first, kind of glimpse into this this workout, but right there. So definitely memorize that right there before moving ahead. Okay, so here's the full modal modulation workout exercise. This is the big one right here. So we're going to start the same way. F, Aeolian to E Lydian implied. And then if you have been watching my channel, or you studied with me before, you probably have a pretty good idea what's going to happen next. We're going to basically move this all the way down the fretboard. We're going to move F Aeolian here all the way down to F Aeolian right there. And I'm also doing kind of a half and half. I'm doing hammer-ons and pull-offs and incorporating legato. So I'm not picking every single note. You could turn this into a picking exercise if you wanted to. But it's really good for building strength, for your fret hand. We're also going to gradually stretch on our way down. And something like this. And I'm just going to go really slow. Because like I said, you don't want to start this too fast, because when you get all the way down here, you're going to definitely feel it in your forearm and your hand and your fingers and everything. So go slow and do it just like this. Once you get right there, you could probably guess what we're going to do. We're going to start again and then go back up. And like I said, this exercise or workout is a marathon, because we just moved all the way from F to F, and now you're going to go from this lower F back to where we started right there. that, and I can definitely feel that. My forearm, my wrist, my hand, and my fingers. No pain, but I can definitely feel that conditioning and that development, in my muscles and my strength in my hand. So that's going to wrap this episode of Scales and Tails with the modal modulation workout. And you could definitely do this between any modes. It doesn't have to be Aeolian and Lydian. You can definitely, kind of shift or modulate between any two modes. And you could actually introduce like a third modulation if you really know what you're doing. But that's really difficult. You're definitely starting to mix and blend, different tonalities and keys and sounds. And your ear can really easily get confused because then you're going to lose sight of what key you started in, and you kind of lose sight of where the root is. So this can get very complicated, very fast. But like I mentioned, this is really just a technique boosting exercise. Great for building, some fret hand strength, stretching ability, moving across the strings, moving along the fretboard. There's a lot going on, with this innocent, basic kind of exercise. And also it sounds cool too. It has this interesting twist or shift to it. So anyway, good luck with this, and leave some feedback and comments, and please subscribe to Legato Lessons, and I'll be back before you know it with more content and material. Thank you.